What does fun sound like? What music notations add up to joy? If you've played a Super Mario game in the last 35 years, you already know the answer. The folks over at Nintendo obviously know something that the rest of the industry doesn't. They have some treasure chest, some box hidden away. They have all these secrets in it. The perfect chords, progressions, the pace, the instruments to use. They know all the tricks, and they know how to put it together just right. They have the KFC secret original recipe for how to make the perfect video game tune. How? Well, they've been doing it for decades. If you don't know who Super Mario is, allow me to be the first one to welcome you back to reality, since you've obviously been living in some sort of a Koopa shell. So welcome back to reality, and also welcome back to OSTs and Heartbreak, an audio quest. Even if you have heard of Mario, not many people know his backstory. Brainchild of video game royalty Shigeru Miyamoto, the Italian plumber with a hatred of turtles and a proclivity for princess saving, has been the mascot and flagship character for Nintendo since his proper introduction in 1985's Super Mario Bros., a game that was bundled with every NES or Nintendo Entertainment System sold in America, alongside cult classic Duck Hunt. But before this, Mario was simply known as Jumpman, the protagonist of the Donkey Kong arcade cabinets that graced so many arcades and pizza chains at the peak of the arcade craze, sometime in the onset of the 1980s. If you know Mario, you'll understand the Jumpman moniker right away. Mario jumps. In fact, his jumps are so powerful as to be capable of disintegrating the very matter his signature brown boots stomp on. He jumps over hostile high-speed Koopa shells. He hops atop conveniently located treetops and hills, and over sentient missiles and disgruntled football players. He jumps in 2D, in 3D, he even jumps through city skylines, and on occasion, he'll swim too. Mario has worn many hats, from playing a variety of sports ranging from tennis, basketball, baseball, soccer, and a wildly successful stint at go-karting, to laying the smackdown on other video game head honchos like Sonic and Mega Man in Super Smash Bros. Throughout the decades, Mario has proved as versatile and intellectual property as any, but he always goes back to doing what got him to the top in the first place: jumping. Mario games have been incredibly successful worldwide, selling over 600 million copies for billions upon billions of dollars. In fact, I just looked it up the other day, and the Super Mario franchise is ranked the second all-time most profitable video game franchise ever, just behind another one of Nintendo's blockbuster franchises, Pokemon. Mario's success isn't just limited to mere wealth either. He has become a cultural icon, at one point rivaling even the great Mickey Mouse among the hearts of America's youth. This is according to a survey that was done in the 1980s. You can check it out in the show notes. Very soon, you'll even be able to experience Mario levels up close in Universal Studios' Nintendo World, an idea literally ripped from the minds of children. I myself remember talking about how a Nintendo World would totally make sense and will result in a gazillion dollars back in 6th grade. I was right then, and I'm right now, and I demand a cut, Nintendo. I demand it.
And now for some developer background.
Allow me to present to you some background on the great Shigeru Miyamoto. Miyamoto started out at Nintendo in the 1970s as one of its first artists. Back then, Nintendo didn't really make a lot of video games, instead specializing in card games and other types of toys. Miyamoto would go on to help Nintendo create their first coin-operated arcade video game, Sheriff. Miyamoto later on contributed great ideas to the company, coming up with the characters of Mario and Link, as well as creating the franchises The Legend of Zelda and Super Mario Bros. Miyamoto has become Nintendo's greatest video game moneymaker and designer, and he has been credited in over 100 different video games in several different roles, from supervisor to programmer to creator to producer to director. Relying on his childhood experiences to help him come up with some of his greatest ideas, Miyamoto's ideas and video games have helped to define and influence hundreds of millions of childhoods across the world. In 1998, Miyamoto was honored as the very first person to be inducted into the Academy of Interactive Arts and Sciences Hall of Fame. His awards and acclaims are many, and he continues to influence and mentor the next generation of game programmers still over at Nintendo today. Now then, back to my boy Mario. As Nintendo's golden boy and one of its biggest moneymakers, Mario's main series titles have always been some of the best games of their respective consoles. Whenever Nintendo releases a new console, you already know there's going to be a Mario game right there upon release, or not that long after. There just has to be. The original NES had the classic Super Mario Bros. And a drastically improved platformer in Super Mario Bros. 3 not long later. The Super Nintendo had the still reigning 2D Mario King, Super Mario World. P.S. Yoshi for life. And when it came time for Mario to enter the third dimension, he did so in an industry-changing way with Super Mario 64. A game that proved Nintendo was at the top of its craft in the 90s. Every console since has had at least one main series Mario game. But the Wii was particularly blessed to house not one, but two of the greatest video games ever created, Super Mario Galaxy and Super Mario Galaxy 2. It's okay. I'll pause for applause. Good. As it stands, no other main series 3D Mario game has had a sequel. Miyamoto and staff were reportedly so enthused and packed with ideas for a concept involving Mario and outer space that one game simply wasn't enough to contain it all. It's the first of this duo of titans that brings us to episode 2 of our show. You see, Mario Galaxy is a true masterpiece, an audio and visual quest. Its graphics and music combine to take the player on a wild ride, a roller coaster of limitless proportions, with plenty of highs, lows, and daunting loops. So let's hop on for the ride. Mario games have always been full of gameplay variety. Sure, like I mentioned 500,000 times, there's a lot of jumping, but increasingly so, Mario finds himself navigating new and interesting forms of travel. In Mario Sunshine, he dons a water jetpack. In Odyssey, he can control enemies by tossing his hat, Cappy, at them. And in Galaxy, he catapults from star to star as he traverses spherical planetoids, each with their own gravity. Within the added gameplay variety, Mario is always experiencing different settings as well. He'll be swinging from treetops one minute, then hopping through perilous pits of lava the next. He'll be jogging through a desert, desperately attempting to outrun a bloodthirsty sun. What's up with that? And then sliding on ice, avoiding runaway penguins not too long after that. And with each distinct environment, the game's always introduced an appropriate musical accompaniment. Mario Galaxy was actually the first Mario game to feature a fully orchestrated soundtrack due to the latest advancements in technology. To score both Galaxy game soundtracks, a special orchestra was created, resulting in an incredible assortment of songs that match the diverse level designs that Nintendo so intuitively crafted. It was dubbed the Mario Galaxy Orchestra. A full orchestra was a perfect blend to Galaxy's gravity-defying gameplay, with melodious harp solos and silky smooth woodwinds adding on grace and divinity as Mario launches from celestial bodies to hollowed out moons, round distant stars, and over perilous black holes. Mario Galaxy's compositions were written by Mario music mainstay Koji Kondo, as well as Mahito Yokota, who had previously contributed to the Donkey Kong franchise with Donkey Kong Jungle Beat, a great game, might I add, that utilized a bongos peripheral to allow players to control Donkey Kong through the drums. Kondo is the John Williams to Miyamoto's Steven Spielberg. The two obscenely talented minds were paired together by one shared vision, making music and video games that are above all fun. And what's more fun than bouncing around space in search of a kidnapped princess to otherworldly tunes? Well, if you were to say this podcast, you would be right. This podcast is awesome. At the heart of most games is a thoughtful narrative that drives the action forward. But in Mario games, the gameplay itself is the main attraction. The plots to the vast majority of Mario games parallel another massively popular Nintendo franchise, The Legend of Zelda, in that the action always revolves around three characters: the princess, the villain, and the hero. We know Mario has to save Princess Peach from the evil Koopa King Bowser. Duh. Mario Galaxy is no different, except its premise is wonderfully dramatic at the offset, with Bowser ruining a perfectly good Star Festival in the jolly old Mushroom Kingdom, and literally pulling up Princess Peach's castle alongside a hefty chunk of the ground, all with the aid of some strategically allied UFOs. The music when this happens is appropriately menacing, kicking things off with a fantastic remix of a classic Mario tune, the airship theme from Mario Bros. 3. Already a stellar track on its own, back in the 8-bit era, the addition of orchestral instrumentation, primarily pounding strings, makes the track reminiscent of John Williams' iconic Imperial March from The Empire Strikes Back. Alright. As the castle is lifted from its very foundation and dragged to the coldness of space, we hear a snippet, a small preview of Bowser's main theme for this game. It's a nice nod that makes the theme's full effect even greater when it plays out in its entirety as you and Bowser go head to head on several occasions through the game's 20+ hours. Eventually, Mario wakes up after plummeting to a near certain doom and engages in a playful rabbit chase. He chases a rabbit. This is a Nintendo video game, and it happens all the time. The rabbit turns out to be a Luma, a species of sentient starlings, because of course that's a thing, that whimsically assists Mario in his journey to the stars. The Lumas take Mario to meet Rosalina, a princess who watches over and protects the cosmos, as she requests Mario's help in once again saving the world and completing a collection of 120 stars littered through ingeniously crafted environments. A calm and soothing tune loops in the background, and it's awesome. By the way, if Rosalina's been protecting the cosmos, where has she been all my life? It hasn't been going great. Like I was saying, for every moment of frantic action, there are more subdued moments, like these, with a far more minimalist sound structure. At times, Mario Galaxy has over 20 instruments going off all at once. At other times, you'll hear nothing more than scattered keys, floating musical notes, not unlike the floating pieces of remnant space junk that Mario may encounter on his quest. The first proper level in Mario Galaxy is the Good Egg Galaxy. Just how the level serves as a delightful gameplay introduction into much of the galaxy's core elements, the accompanying theme also does an excellent job at welcoming the player to the galaxy's distinct orchestral sounds. Sweeping string sections give in to fluttering woodwinds that hover in and out of the ears, just as Mario is hovering and blasting from one planet to the next. One of the challenges of designing a song for a video game, particularly for a platformer, is creating songs that, while looping continuously as players map out their surroundings and naturally progress through the level, the songs don't drive them insane all the while. Galaxy clears this hurdle masterfully. All of these songs loop endlessly as the player charts his or her way through the game's vast amount of worlds, and yet they never come away feeling stale or repetitive, even after numerous in-game deaths prolong time spent on each level considerably. Finally, as Mario makes his way to the last planetoid at the end of the Good Egg Galaxy, a gentle, almost music box-like tune begins to play. A massive egg-like figure sits nearby at the top of the planet, and the quixotic music begs Mario to poke and prod the unidentified object. Doing so reveals an enraged piranha plant monstrosity who sets his hungry eyes on our dear Italian handyman. The boss theme that plays during this fight is frantic and erratic, mirroring the mad dashes and violent stampede of the flora-faced fiend run amok. But Mario's jumps are not to be trifled with, and in Mario Galaxy, the plumber extraordinaire adds a formidable spin move to his ever-growing arsenal. A few well-timed moves and one death streak later, and boom! The plant dino is extinct. As Mario walks over and collects his prize star, one of 120 in the game, the music rewards the player's achievement with celebratory fanfare. Then it's back to the action, and on to the next lush and blooming galaxy, where Mario dons a thorax for the first time. That's right, he becomes the adorable Bee Mario, while a rolling electric guitar riff and a rhythmic marimba combine to create a wonderfully upbeat atmosphere. You may hear floaty, breezy woodwinds that add to the tune's wispy feel, encapsulating the gameplay elements that the Honey Hive Galaxy puts on full display, such as having Bee Mario float on rogue air currents to help him on his way to finding yet another star. In another far-off galaxy, Mario finds himself navigating a vast stretch of the void, aptly named the Starjunk Galaxy. As he makes his way through these treacherous gaps in the cosmos, filled with platforms that appear and disappear when Mario approaches them, a lustrous ballad hangs in the background. A beautiful piano arrangement is accompanied by spacey-sounding electronic effects, bleeps, and bloops in near synchronicity with the cascading keys. Mario Galaxy's compositions are either minimalist or maximalist in nature. There is little in between. You're either hearing very little or quite a lot, and the juxtaposition of these two directions never becomes distracting. It never feels as if you're being tugged or dropped as the music turns in intensity with the action on screen, perhaps because at the end of each level and each musical world, we return to the always homey-sounding Comet Observatory, and the sound resets to the hub theme. The concept of a hub, a place that serves like a starting point to the game's various levels, is not a foreign concept in 3D Mario games. In Mario 64, players could navigate the entirety of Princess Peach's castle, walking into painting after painting to enter various worlds. In Mario Sunshine, the whole of Isle Delfino served as an even larger hub world. And within the Comet Observatory, the theme that plays as you wander its interconnecting structures is such a soft, open-ended composition that it itself feels like a sort of musical bridge to the distinct themes of each of the game's many levels. So we're talking about some of Galaxy's more standout tracks. In my honest opinion, some of the most stellar compositions are found in the Buoy Base and Gusty Garden galaxies. In the first, Mario has to make his way through a planetoid with a towering fortress that stands above a well-contained pool. As Mario makes his way through this above-ground section of the level, a triumphant rendition of the world's theme plays, with crescendos of horns and strings mirroring Mario's ascent through the fortress. Then, when Mario dives down deep into the underlying pool at the bottom of the level, a much more subdued version of the theme starts to play. This shift further enhances the level's ambient feel, shifting the tone and volume down considerably to mimic the effect on Mario's submerged senses. The theme is, like so much of Galaxy's soundtrack, majestic and spacey, with sublime orchestration intermingling with electronic synth-like sounds to create an amazing effect. Gusty Garden, on the other hand, is a true work of art. In my humble opinion, it's the most memorable track in the entire game. As YouTuber Jacob Geller said in his very introspective video, The Quiet Sadness of Mario Galaxy, quote, "Gusty Garden Galaxy might as well be Mozart's 9th concerto for video games," end quote. I could talk for a while about why this song is so incredible. The awesome Western-style acoustic guitar, the incredibly majestic trumpet solos, and the rousing string sections elevate this song to the top of Mario Galaxy's soundtrack. It's hard to make somebody actually imagine, a blue overalls and red-capped Italian plumber catapulting through the stars, but this song actually achieves that. As mentioned previously, 3D Mario games have always been able to thrive thanks, in large part, to the strength of their gameplay variety. This can be a daunting challenge for composers because they need to be able to create music that is thematically similar in nature while also sounding properly distinct as the player encounters increasingly more diverse level designs and settings. In Mario 64, this was achieved excellently. It didn't matter whether Mario was in a desert world, whether he was in a snow world, or whether he was in a massive submerged cave system. Koji Kondo had it down pat. In Mario Galaxy, this same principle is applied, but on a grander scale, thanks to the impressive orchestration of the Mario Galaxy Orchestra. It doesn't matter whether Mario is navigating molten magma that erupts beneath his feet, whether he's raiding a fortress that's raining down homicidal bullet bills, or whether he's trying to make his way through a galaxy haunted by all manner of ghosts, ghouls, and boos. Mario Galaxy's orchestration fully immerses the player into a soundscape that seamlessly matches each of the game's unique levels. One of the things that Nintendo nails down so well in so many of their video games is the ability to remix familiar songs and make them feel fresh somehow through black magic. I don't know. They always find a way to strike that sweet spot between an homage to the original and a proper track in its own right for the current game. Even in their ever-expanding collections of sequels and series, Nintendo loves to reintroduce music in new ways, like when they made the main theme to 2011's Skyward Sword, a theme that is simply Zelda's lullaby from the legendary Ocarina of Time, just played in reverse. It's a very innovative way to utilize music as a bridge in time, or as a storytelling tool, fostering feelings of nostalgia in gamers who avidly recall listening to the original tunes. Mario Galaxy is acutely aware of its history, remixing several classic Mario tracks, like the aforementioned Battleship theme. In the playful and cheery Toy Times Galaxy, Mario finds himself in a sprawling nexus of springs, massive toy blocks and miniature trains that somehow tower over our favorite Italian water worker. Once Mario makes his way through this colorful challenge course, he finally gains access to one of Galaxy's sillier power-ups, a spring shroom that turns him into, get this, Spring Mario. Now his jumps can pierce the sky. As all this silliness is going on, players are graced with a high-pitched woodwind version of the original Super Mario Bros. Theme. The same theme that played when most people were introduced to Mario Bros. Back in 1986 in the original World 1-1. It's hard not to remember my first time pulling down a flagpole, jumping Mario all the way down, watching those points rack up. This automatic memory recall is something that Nintendo has down to an exact science. If you've played any of the 2D Mario games, then you know that there's usually a castle at the end of each world where a baddie tends to dwell. The moats, the lava, and at times the revelation that the princess is in yet another castle, which, what the fuck? That's just setting you up to fail later on in life. In Mario Galaxy though, there is no earthly castle. Instead, Bowser has himself a galactic fortress in the form of Bowser's Star Reactor, a menacing den with some of the game's toughest enemies lying within. The theme that plays during your courageous excursions into this terror trap is a remix of the classic Koopa's Road theme from Super Mario 64. Just like before, this song serves as a signpost that reads, "You're almost there. This is Bowser's place." A song that was already packed with ambient sound, rolling snare drums, and cascading crashes is now even more thematically fitting for a game that's set in outer space. Honestly, there wasn't much work that had to be done here. This song is amazing. It was amazing back in 1996, and it's amazing once again. And finally, when you clear your way through the gauntlet that is the game's 7 rooms housing 40 plus galaxies, you can make your way to the center of the universe, where Bowser awaits for one last showdown. The music that plays as you engage in a galactic grapple with the big, bad Koopa King himself is nothing short of epic. Booming vocals add to a battle theme that the player has already heard twice before as they've progressed up to this point, but now gets to experience in its entirety. The vibrant orchestration once again mingles with an electronic accompaniment, creating that patented Mario Galaxy sound, and it really feels like a climactic battle is underway far above Earth, among the heavens. This is a Mario game, by the way. I just want everyone to remember this. This is a game about an Italian plumber that jumps on turtles. And like always, spoiler alert, Mario spins and jumps his way to total and absolute victory, tossing the sorry turtle monarch to his fiery doom. Until the next game. Between the original release of Super Mario Bros. In 1985 and the 2007 release of Super Mario Galaxy, video game technology significantly improved. Yet, as the decades have rolled on, Nintendo and their mustachioed frontman consistently stood ahead of the pack, perfecting pinpoint precise platforming in 2D side-scrollers and pioneering the 3D platformer. When Super Mario Galaxy came out in 2007, it dropped in what was a massively successful year for the video game industry, with juggernauts such as Halo 3, Call of Duty 4, and Mass Effect coming out all within months of each other. And although the Wii lacked in graphical and technical power compared to Sony and Microsoft's PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360, Nintendo was able to craft a unique 3D platformer that stood out amongst the competition thanks to the strength of its never complacent gameplay. It's a feast for the senses, with colorful levels that would feel absolutely uneventful if it weren't for a painstakingly crafted score that never fails to match the pacing and tone of the gameplay it is set to. The whimsical splash that accompanies Mario every time he catapults from one warp star to another, the levels where Mario jumps along to an ever-clicking metronome as platforms alternate alongside with the music, the quiet moments where Mario stumbles into the library and spectates as Rosalina shares a heartfelt story from a worn book, reminiscing of her childhood and her previous life before she discovered and befriended the whimsical Lumas to a very haunting tune that just staggers the soul. It all combines to create one of the most impressive audio-visual interactive experiences that I have ever had the pleasure to play through. Mario Galaxy and later its sequel, Mario Galaxy 2, are two of my favorite video games. Not just Nintendo games, not just platforming games, not just Mario games, two of my favorite video games of all time. I would recommend them to anybody who's looking to get into video games or who just likes having fun, because that's what they are. A great experience for anybody of any age, gender, sexual orientation, race, ethnicity. You know what? I think if you were a dog and you can play video games, you could also enjoy Mario Galaxy. This game is universally appreciated. No pun intended. Thank you for listening to OSTs and Heartbreak, an audio quest. It has been a joy to present yet another episode to you, our loving audience. On our next episode, we'll be looking into a very different type of game. Microsoft's homeboy, Master Chief, Cortana, Bill Gates. Just kidding. Halo 3 ODST. So please listen, follow us on Instagram, show your friends, share this episode, and above all, keep gaming. Keep exploring.
OSTs and Heartbreak, an audio quest, is researched, written, and hosted by Raul Hernandez. It's produced, edited, and mixed by Lisa Love. Our theme music is the Zelda and Chill remix for Song of Storms by Mikkel. The songs that you heard for Mario Galaxy were included for the purpose of reviewing the music for this game. You can find more information and links to all of the relevant sources in the show notes. If you liked what you heard, please rate, review, subscribe, and share the show with your favorite avid gamers and OST lovers. That's the best way to keep our quest going. And let us know what you thought. You can find us on Instagram at OSTs and Heartbreak, or send us an email at ostsandheartbreak@gmail.com. We plan to release new episodes every other Monday, but as a special treat, we're hoping to put out episode 3 next week. That's April 27th. By then, hopefully we'll be listed in Apple Podcasts, but in the meantime, you can tune in on our website, on Spotify, or wherever you're listening right now. Stay safe.
It's me, Raul, the host, Mario.